The headline is inside the absolute bleep show that led to the Red Sox trade of Rafael Devers. He writes that Devers didn't demand a trade, according to multiple team sources, but he communicated that he would be okay with one. So that's the middle ground. You've got people that say he did ask for a trade, people that say he didn't ask for a trade, didn't. Well, the middle is, no, he didn't ask for one, but he said, hey, if you're going to trade me, whatever. Go ahead. Do whatever you want to do.
The word demand is a strong word. Like, it's going in, pounding the desk. I want to be traded. Instead of just saying, hey, maybe it's the best that we all get off to a better start. Fresh start somewhere else.
Julie wrote that what happened on Sunday, the trade, the scramble, the silence that followed, represents just the latest fracture for a franchise quietly splintering behind the scenes. The Devers saga wasn't just about positional conflict or clubhouse drama. It was a symptom of something deeper, a Red Sox organization that has lost its alignment. Its patience, and maybe even its identity. He reports in this story that Breslow and Cora are not on the same page. Cora wants to win. He wants a better roster. He wants to win right now. He does not care about a build. He cares about winning ball games. And the tension is not just between the manager and the chief baseball officer. The issues are also inside the organization upstairs in the front office. In May of 2024, when Breslow brought in sports consulting firm Sportsology to conduct an organizational audit,
I remember this.
The discontent intensified because, as he writes, Breslow has grown increasingly insulated. Multiple sources within the organization describe a front office losing cohesion. Staffers who helped build 4 championship teams, veterans of the Theo, Charrington, Dombrowski, and Bloom regimes, now feel shut out of the operation. The collaborative spirit that once defined Red Sox baseball operations has frayed. Remember all those great stories of Theo renting out the house down at spring training and all the front office guys, that mess of a whole gaggle of front office guys that have all gone on to bigger, more important jobs elsewhere?
Yeah.
They had this sort of frat house attitude among the front office, but it worked for them.
Yeah.
Because they were all very much working together and working for each other, and they were a team in and of themselves, that front office.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like it's completely gone. The Sportsology audit, that didn't go over so well. The stated purpose was to streamline baseball operations, Julie reports. In practice, it triggered a wave of firings and accelerated the marginalization of some of the longest tenured voices in the building, characterizing the cultural shift to align more with Wall Street efficiency. Wall Street efficiency. So they're going to the bean counting and spreadsheet method over there at Fenway Park is what they're doing. A wave of firings. That saves John Henry money. And vacuuming out any human interaction, which is perfect for guys like Craig Breslow and John Henry.
Yeah, cyborgs.
It leads you back to when Craig Breslow was working in Chicago, and he was always a remote employee, and he wasn't working in a daily front office to see what that is like to work with other people and day-to-day tasks that way.
Listen to how this clown talks. Do you think that that's a guy who's going to lead a group of people?
No.
Do you think anyone's going to gravitate toward him?
Absolutely not. And it also goes against kind of what one of the selling points was, too, which was like, hey, former player, but can also bring the analytics side, knows how to talk to people, right?
No, he doesn't.
Kind of knows about being around the game. Like,
he can talk
clearly
to
that
dorks,
part is
sure.
not accurate.
The biggest reason you fired Heimblum was for that, lack of feel.
We were railing on this guy yesterday for having no feel and no understanding of how things, work with human beings, because he doesn't.
Yeah.
And it's confirmed in this story. One of the clearest signals came. This is my favorite part. Listen up. Best part of the story.
All time.
One of the clearest signals came during an internal Zoom meeting earlier this season. I mentioned Zoom off the top today for a reason. Because these are the fun things that happen with Zoom. Toward the end of that call, Carl Moshe, the Red Sox scouting supervisor and a team employee since 2017, thought the call had ended. It hadn't. As the meeting wrapped, his voice cut through a quiet moment. Quote, Thanks, Brez, you effing stiff, he said, according to 2 team sources. The words landed like a grenade, and Breslow fired Moshe.
This is why I can't go on Zoom. I don't know how to operate the buttons.
And you know why he responded that way? Because a lot of those cuts were the scouting department and the instructors. If you go back to the end of last year, that whole Sportsology investigation, it led to him firing those guys. Baseball America
But
did
this
a
guy
survey.
got fired for calling him an effing
Of course.
stiff.
Yeah. No, but that's
Right?
where that comes from, that
Okay, but
frustration, right? Like all of that
but
building.
Milliken, he got fired because he called his boss an effing stiff.
But
Can you leave the
that's
other
where
part
that
out of it
comes
for a
from.
minute?
That's the roots of it.
Fine, but he hadn't been fired until he called his boss an effing stiff.
Of course.
So leave that off to the side for a minute.
Those decisions lead to those moments.
If a boss gets called an effing stiff by someone that works for him, a good boss is going to say, oh, wow, my people hate me. Why does this guy hate me so much? I got to sit down with this dude. This dude hates me. Let's get to the bottom of this. The bad boss, the guy who doesn't care, doesn't understand how to deal with anything, just says, well, he's got to get fired now. Bye, and fires him. And so that is just a perfect example of a guy who doesn't know how to deal with anybody or anything. That's the conflict that led to you blowing the guy out?
Right.
He called you an effing stiff. You know why? You are one. That's why he called you that, because you might be dead inside. At least to the rest of us, that's how you look. And so that's why he called you that. And that, to me, is the scary part, that it didn't set off any alarms like, ooh, we got a problem here. Is everybody saying this about me? How can I be better? If you are this guy you claim to be, right, which he has claimed, go back to his opening press conference about the collaboration and working together and getting everybody, going in the right direction and doing it together. Well, if that's who you are, then you're not just blowing everybody out, or the guy who calls you a stiff isn't shown the door right away. By the way, I looked up that guy. He's been in Major League Baseball since 1986.
Yes.
In scouting roles. He worked for multiple teams. He's been with the Sox since 2017. He had previously been working for Major League Baseball itself. So
you would think that guy would know what a stiff within the organization.
Well, let's just say he's
look or
seen
act
a
like.
lot.
Yeah,
It should be
he's
like
seen
a-
it all.
A look in the mirror moment. And doesn't that kind of tie into the way that the Devers stuff was handled, by the way, as well? Because last night, he does go on, Breslow, or Brez, as Sam Kennedy would call him, does say, yeah, you know what, I do probably have to look at the way that I communicated with him, but then also says, and talks out of both sides of his mouth, because he says, it wouldn't have changed anything. You have a huge communication problem in your organization.
Well, you're not run by a good boss, and he's right on this. Like, good bosses would get to the end of that. Like the Jim Rice thing that took place down thing. Like, Brez being a former player should understand, wow, Jim Rice is like God here. Okay, so let me pull Jim aside and say, hey, we shouldn't have said that. No, but they just let it hang.
And if Breslow's that reactionary, why would you want him in the meeting with Devers when you go to Kansas City?
Oh, because he'd probably tell Devers to go pound sand. That's why. Yeah. You could exactly know what he's
I
thinking.
hope I'm pronouncing his name right, Moshe. I'm going to hope I am. Started working for the Orioles in 1986 before going to the Yankees in 1990, moving on to Major League Baseball in 95. He left MLB in 2016 at the end of that season and started with the Red Sox at the start of 17. Yeah, 1986 he started. He's worked in 3 different teams in the American League East and worked for MLB itself.
Been around the game a long time. And
Yeah.
again, back to the Breslow thing, I would think a guy that played Major League Baseball for a ton of years would also have thick enough skin to get called a name and be able to come to the table and kind of talk about that
Plus,
as well.
if you're the boss, would you want people that have had great experiences since 1986 or whatever year he said this guy's been in the game since? That, oh, this guy, we can bounce stuff off him, man. He has seen it all. Now, let's just get rid of him.
They blew him out.
Rely on your computer.
He had to go.
Internal Zoom. I love that. Like, they're all in the building, but they're still going to get on Zoom.
Well, no, they're not all in the building because they're scouts from around the country.
Oh, okay.
So front office stuff with scouting guys, they're based all over. That's why again, Zoom is a great technology, and that wouldn't be possible 25 years ago.
true.
You'd be calling each individual scout or trying to do a conference call, and this is far better. But it leads to stuff like this.
Yep.
Thanks, Brez, you effing stiff. Oh, okay. Sorry. Is this thing on? And then
Jeffrey Tubin over there.
yeah.
You just got to log off, man, and pretend like nothing happened. Yeah.
Well, something did happen, and he got fired. He got his ass kicked on that one. Alignment was a word that was used quite frequently in that press conference last night. Did you happen to pick up on that?
I use it every day.
You do?
Yeah, like my car's not running great. Hey, I think the alignments were off in my car. Like, hey, honey, did you talk to the kids today? Are we all in the same alignment with our thoughts on what we're going to do next weekend? I use that a lot.
I think the only time I use the word alignment is when you're getting one done on a car. Okay? That's it.
Yeah. Got that?
Yeah,
Okay.
great. Excellent. That's the only time. Not any of those other things you said you do with your family stuff. Yeah, I know you said car.
You know I said car, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm saying that's the only time. Not any of those other things.
No.
You're mixing
I'm
real
joking.
things with fake
I'm
things.
joking. Because nobody talks that way. Nobody.
That's it. Only. That's it. Only car. That's the only thing. One thing. I can't think of another way I'd use it on a regular basis.
How do you even call the agent to say, like, we're not in the same alignment?
Under
No,
over
you
10
wouldn't
last
say
night.
it. What? Oh, we got
don't
the
worry,
number.
we got the number.
number.
good. All right,
We
good,
did
good,
the
good.
counting. We've got the supercut. It's coming up. They kept saying inflection point. Again, because they have no ability to sound like relatable human beings running a baseball team. Every time they speak, it shakes our confidence as fans in what the hell it is they're doing over there. It does. It makes it worse. You never feel better when they talk.
Nope.
Ever.
No.
Ever, ever, ever.
I'm just glad he was able to humbleize himself. Like, just I have to be humble to look back and see what I could have done different. Like, really? Okay. Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. This guy, like, you worry about him being, like, to all the examples of firing a scout, of moving on this guy, because he told you to do your job better. You got to have thicker skin. It doesn't feel that Breslow has thick skin. At least Kennedy can be a punching bag. And he'll take it, but he'll try to spin it. Breslow just thinks like he tries to react, feels like he tries to react off that stuff. And yeah, if he wants to be in this long for the game, like you got to be better at that. And that's something he's not.
Milliken, any reports of him meeting with the team prior to that game?
No, it looks like the closest thing was that he was in the manager's office and willing to take questions if players had them.
That's absurd.
So we talk about communication and being better and improving and looking in the mirror and saying, I gotta be better. You had the opportunity right here and didn't do it already.
Why go there?
Yes.
Right. So if he's on the team playing, I would assume he's on the team playing.
No.
No, he flew out separately
Okay, he
after.
did.
No,
All right.
Breslow wasn't on the team plane.
Okay. Because I'm like, you could talk to players on the plane.
They all said Core was the one who spoke to them. He delivered the message, and that was it.
Durant said that too. Like, yeah, Core said, I trust this group. That's like, there's nobody defended Devers in any.
But Cora didn't make the deal.
Right.
Cora didn't make the trade. So he can deliver the message of how they're going to move forward,
Yeah.
which is good. And if you're listening to what Durant said, he said, you guys are going to ask us about this. It's not a big deal. And as a reporter said, well, it kind of feels like a big deal. And he said, he had the good answer, right? He said, well, look at how many guys there are in here. That's one guy. We're bigger than one guy. And so that is the right message for those guys that are still in the room to have and be thinking about. Great. But that has nothing to do with the fact that the de facto GM, Chief Baseball Officer, sounds so stupid. It's such a stupid friggin' title. The GM didn't want to talk to the team. He said, you can come in here and ask me questions in the manager's
Office hours.
Yeah. Well, I'll hold office hours like I'm a TA.
Do you think you personally try and picture yourself being a professional athlete in that room and dealing with all this and hearing how this guy speaks and being around him in spring training and just how they've dealt with this whole situation to begin with? Do you think prior to a game you ever want to go in there and just talk to him? That answer is no. Because it doesn't feel like you have a real conversation. Like, I would say this if I was one of the players. I'd talk to my teammates on that team. It's like, this dude played? He doesn't talk like a player. He talks like one of these baseball geeks. Like most guys that play don't really talk this way.
Was he a loner? He had to be a loner.
Oh,
in that
God.
room. Oh, my goodness.
His party is like 2 hands on the wheel and ginger ale while he's driving. Whew. Yeah.
Let's get back to the alignment word. You put the over-under at 10.
Yeah, I mean, it was constant throughout that whole press conference.
I would have guessed it was somewhere around 10, so I think that's the right number.
7.
It was 14. 14 times they used the word alignment.
It's a magic word.
Technically 16 because 2 reporters did say alignment.
That doesn't count.
Magic word of the
That
day.
doesn't count. It's 14 that they used. Did you have it? Them all strung together?
We couldn't find alignment with Rafi.
You reach an inflection point and you fail to reach alignment.
In terms of what was missing, it just was that alignment.
And like Sam said, ultimately we weren't able to achieve that alignment.
I thought we'd ultimately get to a place of complete alignment. There's blame to go around on all sides when you can't get to alignment.
I also shoulder a significant responsibility here in failing to reach that alignment. Ultimately, as Sam has pointed out, this kind of lack of alignment, we failed to reach that alignment.
We thought we had alignment. When we came to the conclusion that we did not have a full alignment, we moved on.
Unbelievable.
Electric stuff from
Just
these,
talk like a person.
from these two thumbs on the screen.
Hell with the word
Unbelievable.
alignment. And I know it was mentioned a bunch, and that's the magic word of the day. Inflection point. That's the one I got more of a problem.
They reached an inflection point. Yeah. And they failed to reach alignment.
Could not reach alignment.
They could not reach alignment.
Nope.
Yep.
Have you ever used the words inflection point?
No, I haven't.
Thank you.
I've never had a disagreement and said that the alignment is off.
Yeah.
Alignment.
So, again, I'm stunned that the communication was an issue with their
Yeah.
star player.
Yeah. They talk like this, and then the GM flies across. I'm not calling him the CBO anymore. Put that in the trash.
Not even that.
You
Like
idiots.
in Port Devers too. Like
Flies across the country.
the
and doesn't talk to
interpreter.
team.
Yeah.
What?
The interpreter with him all the time is like, how do I even use the word alignment or inflection point? Like, there's got to be zero communication between a player and these guys throughout spring.
But if you just remove the best bat you had in the lineup, wouldn't you want to get in alignment with your club and say, hey, this
depends
is what
on
we're
the-
looking for. This is why we made the move. We want team first guys in here. We want an organization that puts the team above the individual.
What was the
And this is the
inflection
first
point,
step.
though? When was the inflection point?
It's a good point.
Hard to talk about alignment if you don't understand when the I can't even say it. Inflection point happened.
So living in the past, which is what Sam Kennedy wanted to do, was absurd.
Yep.
That was crazy. The repeated use of the word alignment was a joke. But maybe the most ridiculous thing that anybody said was Breslow saying that he thought there would be a real chance at the end of the season that we're looking back and we've won more games than we otherwise would have. Which he wants people to believe. And some people will buy in on that. They'll say, well, it's addition by subtraction because it wasn't getting along and, the clubhouse was being brought down by the drama with Devers. Okay. All right. If that's how bad you think it was, good luck making that case. But this team doesn't have other guys in that lineup that can make that happen for you. They don't. This is not trading Nomar, which I've heard.
No.
That team happened to have a couple of guys in the middle of the lineup named Ortiz and Ramirez. Okay? There are other quality bats in that lineup, big-time premier bats in that lineup that helped that team. And I know that Ortiz was just sort of breaking out as a everyday Red Sox DH at that point, but you can't compare the two. They had Manny in the lineup.
You can't even go anywhere close. You have 3 rookies batting 3, 4th, 5th right now in your lineup. Not even guys who are established stars that have been around and may not be the best bats in the league. You have rookies. A guy who had 1 hit in Roman Anthony going into last night.
Well, that 2004 team had also reached an inflection point, by the way, because they were not playing good baseball, right? They were an underachieving team at that point, kind of middling in 2004 until that trade. Right now, you're playing your best baseball. You were playing your best baseball, and that guy was producing in your lineup. Not the same.
Manny Ramirez
Didn't matter.
was still remaining when Nomar. Bill Miller, who was having a ridiculous year for the Red Sox that year, was still in the lineup. They had plenty of offense to power that lineup moving on from Nomar, who was, by the way, clearly hurt and not right. So this is not trading down some broken down player who was to the point of, duct taping the floor to stay out of his space.
Well, and you're also not getting impact major league players back in return in this deal either.
Correct.
Like,
You got back 2 major leaguers right away when you made that deal. They did not in this one. So I would not compare the two.